Welcome to Reading the Bible with Pastor. Today we're on Genesis chapter 38. The Bible is full of good stories, but sometimes those good stories are full of sinful people. And here we're going to read a story that's about the sins of people. It happened at that time that Judah went down from his brothers and turned aside to a certain Adulamite, whose name was Hira. There Judah saw the daughter of a certain Canaanite, whose name was Shua. He took her and went into her, and she conceived and bore a son, and called his name She conceived again, and bore a son, and she called his name Onan. Yet again she bore a son, and she called his name Shelah. Judah was in Kezib when she bore him. And Judah took a wife for his firstborn, and her name was Tamar. But Judah's firstborn, was wicked in the sight of the Lord, and the Lord put him to death. Now this is a reminder for all of us that the result of sin is death. And here the Lord acted upon that curse of sin and put to death. When Judah said to Onan, "Go into your brother's wife, and perform the duty of a brother-in-law to her, and raise up offspring for your brother." Now this isn't a law at the time, but later would be a Mosaic law written by Moses to the people that if your brother passed away and his wife was a widow, that you as a brother would give to her offspring. And here, this is the action that he's told to take. But Onan knew that the offspring would not be his, so whenever he went into his brother's wife, he would waste the semen on the ground, so as not to give offspring to his brother. Here we see why there was a reason to give offspring to the widow, that they may pass on promises and inheritance onto them. Here, Onan is trying to act in selfishness by not giving his brother offspring, and therefore splitting the inheritance. So he wants to keep more inheritance to himself. And what he did was wicked in the sight of the Lord, and he put him to death also. Then Judah said to Tamar, his daughter-in-law, "Remain a widow in your father's house, till Shelah my son grows up, for he feared that he would die," that is, Shelah, "like his brothers." So Tamar went and remained in her father's house. In the course of time, the wife of Judah, Shua's daughter, died. When Judah was comforted, he went up to Timnah to his sheep shearers, he and his friend Hira the Adulamite. And when Tamar was told, "Your father-in-law is going up to Timnah to shear his sheep," she took off her widow's garments and covered herself up with a veil, wrapping herself up, and sat at the entrance of Enaim, which is on the road to Timnah. The beginning of this at verse 12, in the course of time, lets us know that time has passed enough that Shelah should have been given over to Tamar. And then we'll continue with the middle of verse 14. For she saw that Shelah was grown up, and she had not been given to him in marriage. When Judah saw her, he thought she was a prostitute, for she had covered her face. He turned to her at the roadside and said, "Come, let me come in to you," for he did not know that she was his daughter-in-law. She said, "What will you give me, that you may come in to me?" He answered, "I will send you a young goat from the flock." And she said, "If you give me a pledge until you send it." He said, "What pledge shall I give you?" She replied, "Your signet and your cord and your staff that is in your hand." All these things would be recognizable to most that those belonged to Judah. So he gave them to her and went into her, and she conceived by him. Then she arose and went away, and taking off her veil, she put on the garments of her widowhood. All right, we see that these men, Judah, and Shelah, and Onan, all made a mistake in the way they acted. And we'll see how the Lord uses these actions, these sinful actions, for his ultimate good. We'll pick up next time then with Genesis 38, starting at verse 20. As always, please subscribe to the channel and share this with others so that they may also read the Bible and get a little bit more understanding in it.